Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned into the famous Dwayne's podcast. I am your host, Dwayne. Here we have the esteemed MC, Mr. Braxton. Say what up to the people.
Peace, everyone. How's everybody doing?
What we're doing right now is we're just gonna do like a deep dive on the Black August EP that dropped on the 15th at it was 2:50 in the morning.
2:30 a.m. Yep,
2:30 a.m. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of quotables here, and like I just said off air, this is actually the first interview where I actually have notes because I don't use notes.
Mm.
Not to, toot my own horn, but that just, So first of all, like where did the inspiration come with this project? Like how did this all come to you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess to kind of give a little bit more context, last year when Power Shalem dropped, which was I think October the 18th, it was sort of like experimental, sort of testing the waters to see like, it was like, I'm pretty sure I'm like, I can rap, so it was like, let me just release this out there. And probably halfway through, it's only 5 songs, but halfway through, my brother passed away, right? So it was like, from an emotional standpoint. So it kind of took a little bit of a turn, kind of midway throughout the project, right? Thankfully, it received, pretty general or positive reviews. But really, Black August now, number one, if you know the context of the historical context of Black August and what that means to us as a people, August is typically a month historically of revolution for us as a people, right? So I kind of infused that with also, listen, this is my first year out of being, Kevin, my brother Shalem, he died when I was 27 years old. This is my first year without my brother. So it's kind of infused in those emotions of what the fuck does life mean without, so one of the only protectors I've ever known. And how can I infuse that with, the revolutionary fervor that I really feel like is necessary, or is needed to be reflected in our music today as a people. So one thing is for certain, when Kevin was alive, Kevin was really big into, he always believed, right? This might sound a little crazy, right? But he always believed that it was bubbling down to a big war. And so even though his health was failing him, you could catch him in his room, right? He'd be doing push-ups, right? He has, matter of fact, because me and him have such a close relationship, everything in Kevin's room, my mom said I've inherited. So he has a bigger bookshelf than me, and it's filled with cybersecurity, hacking, disarming a gun, defusing a bomb, all those different things, like he was training for something. So it was like, how do I take the spirit of Kevin, right, mixed with me trying to figure out what is life without Kevin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that and all infusing that all within the context of what it means to our people. So, that really what it was about. Black August, it was made available on August the 15th, 2:30 a.m., which is his date and time of death. And I did that just in honor of him. So that was really the context behind it. I wanted to make sure, when I make music, I prefer for it to have a little bit, I don't want to say a darker tone, but I prefer for it to have a much more serious tone,
Mm-hmm.
something that's lighthearted or whatever, because I'm goofy in a lot of instances, but when it comes to art, expressing myself and my convictions, I get very, very serious. And so I kind of wanted to have that same feel.
Right. This is a very dope project. I've listened to it several times. When your account wasn't private, I definitely, shared what you posted in regards to that. So I have some quotables here.
Yeah.
And this kind of wants you to kind of break down, I guess the deeper meaning. I mean, most of this stuff I get, but for those that may not be able to get it, just kind of walk them through it. So I have here, are you seeing what your eyes are reading between the lines?
So a lot of what I was talking about, right, and it really just ties in. This is the importance of the final track, which is the title track, Black August. But that chorus or that part was from the hook on Braxton versus Court of Owls. So I'm a big comic book guy, so Court of Owls is actually this like secret society in the Batman comic books. It's full of these rich elites, and they pull the strings, and they profit from a lot of the crime and so on and so forth. Real creepy cult type shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Braxton would be Court of Owls. So the hook is, until we all have one mind, the limits only lie in the prisons of one's mind. Dimensions underlie that we're here to put down the blinds. Now you either choose alliances and let the haters do it for you. Because all it takes is one time. The enemy divides and division as his design. Are you seeing with your eyes or you reading between the lines? Now you either choose a side or you let the haters do it for you. So when I say that, we're talking about there's a lot of conflict between us as a people, right? And I think that a lot of it is being instigated. And I think that people don't do this just for, this third party, shall we say, they're not doing it strictly for the sake of entertainment, but they're doing it because it suits an overall overarching nefarious agenda, right? This country profits from discord amongst Black peoples or African peoples, right? Whether it's gender wars, diaspora wars, whichever, right? And so the question is, you have to ask people, right? I mean, you and me, we engage in this type of discourse all the time offline. When you see on Twitter, you see all this strife and this discord between us as a people. It's like, are you seeing it for what it is at face value, or are you seeing what's going on behind the scenes? You know, are you seeing with your eyes? Or are you reading between the lines? Because if you let your natural eyes, right, diagnose the situation, you're going to have a natural diagnosis, right? But if you see it with a certain type of discernment, right, or as we call it in our culture, you know, the third eye, right? If you can see with that spirit of discernment, then you can understand, you know, that there are people that are pulling the strings, and so you have to choose which side of that you're going to be on. You know, that's why I said Braxton verse 4, because I'm saying I ain't on that side. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's stating that, right? So that's where that came from.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, because I've said like a similar kind of thing. Where in this song I was like, "See, seeing is agreeing with the two eyes, blurred by the third, leave the other two blind," and it's just again like what you see and like what's really there are two different things. A lot of times, you can only see certain things. Your mind's eye can only see like certain things, and if you think about it, even like kids and the elders, they can see things that we don't see. They
Right.
see ghosts and spirits and other things like that, or ancestors. And we can't see that because we've already been integrated and indoctrinated and all these other things, and we're just not in tune.
We're not tapped in anymore, you know? We're not tapped in anymore. And it's like you have to ask, you know, why is this such a hot topic, right? You know, social media is big in the Black community. Why is gender strife such a hot topic between us? I mean, and it's not just, men are assholes, women are sluts. It's like, that's like the fluff, right? It's like literally, you can't stop killing us. Therefore, we need to, date outside, right? It's like, no, this is rhetoric that is specifically going in the direction of, diluting who we are as a people, right? And spreading us out, right? And so it's like, that cannot possibly be by coincidence. I'm saying, are you seeing with your eyes? Are you reading?
Funny you should say that, because this is
actually, I
actually,
haven't said lines because, like, the lines between your head, you know what I mean?
right. And this is actually a perfect segue to this next bar that I got here. And it is, if the story goes that we see our women as glory holes, they naturally see him as ATMs and call it woke. And that's Newton's third law of motion. And every action promoted leads to reactions opposing. Y'all see where I'm going.
Right.
Or for one of my, I would say that's my, it shifts between my second and third favorite track right now.
Yeah.
I'll say what my favorite is, later. But
okay. All right. That one, well, I made the reference to Meg Thee Stallion because, when I had first gotten into, one of my biggest reasons for not pursuing rap or not being public with it, and I would tell Kevin this very often because he used to always try to push me, because he did music. And I was like, man, they ain't trying to hear what I gotta say. They gonna call me boring. They gonna say I'm using too many big words. They gonna say every excuse in the book, right? But one of the reasons why I was like, I gotta say something, right? I started seeing the types of people that were going to like being catapulted to superstardom. I'm like, that? Namely, people like 6ix9ine, Lil Nas X, whatever, people that for some reason get to represent hip hop, but they don't have like a lick of skill at all, right?
Right.
Have the gimmicks and all that. But then here comes this extremely attractive, right? Thick as hell, Texas chick, Meg Thee Stallion, right? And I remember because when she first dropped, I wasn't like wowed by her lyrically, and I pay attention to like I'm a big technical lyrical kind of guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I wasn't really like crazy about it, you know. But she fine as hell, and that makes up for a lot of things, right?
Right.
Um, and I remember there were people that were complaining about her, you know, I guess the explicitness of her lyrics, and I guess I used to call it dominatrix rap. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I remember when it happened. I think at one time even Joe Budden. I'm a Joe Budden fan, but I think even he had something about "Are you angry at men" or something. And I'm like, I don't think we in any position to be talking, my brother. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not a culture that like honors black men, other than if the black man is talking about himself and his niggas, right?
Right.
Damn sure not a culture, a hip hop culture, at least on the mainstream level, on the commercial level, as
Mm-hmm.
Beat Out would say, that really honors and uplifts black women. Like that shit don't sell. That don't get no radio play.
Sure
You know
doesn't.
what I'm saying? And so because of that, it was like, well, how could you possibly complain about what this woman is saying? You take a look at who her influences are. She was saying 3 6 Mafia. I think she said, you know, UGK, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, those are all black men.
Mm-hmm.
She's literally just saying a female version. She's just rapping as the female version of these other dudes, right?
Right.
It's like, okay, you probably heard the song "Get Throw." Bun B was on it. I'm a Bun B fan, but he said some shit. I was like, that's some wild shit, his verse. And I was like, okay, and those are Meg's influences. So it's like, my point is, black men as black men, right? We are obviously the leaders of hip hop, right? Period.
Mm-hmm.
I understand they got, Meg, and they got, I guess, Doja and whoever else, right? I understand that. But, we run this shit. We are the main faces of it. We're the main voices of it. We're the dominant voices of it. We're the strength of it. We're the muscle behind it. And
Mm-hmm.
as such, we have to dictate the tone of it, right?
Right.
And you choose as to whether you want to sell out your own people, including your own women, for a couple dollars or for some radio play. You
Right.
make that decision. But when you do make that decision, if you choose to go into the more commercial direction, I don't want to hear any complaints when some sisters, because they're gonna look up to you. Because if you're making, music that's, catchy, it's catchy. If it just catches on, you can't complain about shit. Especially when they come around, they start rapping that same shit. You can't get mad at Lil Kim for rapping the way she rapped if look who she was around. Come on, they wasn't
Right.
saying that. They wasn't, like the fucking nerve of them to be on this moral high horse.
Right.
So that's where I was coming from with that.
That makes sense. It makes sense. So, and yeah, like I've showed Meg Thee Stallion to some of my women friends because I thought she was funny. She says some funny things. She has some zingers, if you will. And one of the things that a lot of the women would agree with me. Well, they would say, like they would all say, different women saying the same thing is just like, she raps like how she raps about men the way that rappers would rap about women, and it's just they feel empowered by it. So I'm like, hey,
because that's the tone. That's what we've set as what is empowering.
right?
Is this
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get to this point. All right. So one of my favorite battle rappers, right, is B Dot. I was just texting him the other day, right?
Right.
And first of all, I want to give a shout out to B Dot the God, because you're talking about a righteous brother, man. It's crazy. I was just watching his battle versus this dude named Swade, this dude from Harlem, right? You probably heard. And he was talking about, first of all, I was wondering why, because B Dot gave me a verse.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a track together. It's called Coast Guards.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, Auntie Mello, right? Auntie Mello's a mutual friend between me and B Dot, and she's the one that kind of bridged the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And B Dot listened to my shit. He posted my shit on his page a couple of times, and it's like, I'm like, and I was like, yo, why did he do that? Like everybody else, it's hard. Like he just, the other day took the initiative to repost my shit on his page.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And my girl was like, yo, that's crazy, because it's dudes on Twitter that you've been following for like 5 years. And you like literally ask them, bro, could you retweet this? And they be like, oh yeah. And they don't do it. Like it's dudes that like will privately give you props via text, but not want to retweet your shit in public because they can't stand the idea of like saying, yo, this nigga, I know this nigga, he can rap, because everybody done tried their hand at rapping and not everybody's as good as it. So it's like, so she was like, I was like, it's a matter of character. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give a shout out to him, because that's
a good look.
Yeah, it's just, I was like, why did he do that, right? So I was listening to this battle, and he was talking about in the battle in his third round, he was talking about how he met with Loaded Lux, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loved Loaded Lux. And Lux said he fucked with his shit. He was like, okay, cool. He sent Lux a track. Lux didn't respond to it. Lux didn't give him a verse, nothing like that. He said, okay, I took that on the chin. So I was like, oh, that's why he did it, because he knows what that feels like, to be
Yeah.
hungry, to look up to somebody, and then to have somebody that you admire and respect not give you your prop, or not give you your props, but not get behind you and, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
invest in you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's because of that he understands the importance of paying it forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So shout out to B Dot, man. That was dope. So I mean, I really, but I got off on a tangent. My fault, bro. What was I saying?
No, we were just, you pretty much broke it down as far as, the concept of, Meg Thee Stallion and, the verses you did on the second verse on the Chitlin Circuit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Um, so
Oh
then
wait, can I just tell you this?
go ahead.
Context. I know we're going like 9%, right? But actually, when I first wrote Power Shell In, right, one of the first critiques people gave me, right? Because people love to give public critiques and then give you private props, right?
Of course.
One of the first critiques people gave me was, yeah, you can rap, but like, where's the hooks at? Where's the hook? You ain't got no hook. Your songwriting need work. They got to make sure that's in public. They got to quote tweet that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the DMs, like, yo, but you can definitely rap. So that was one of the critiques I had. Chitlin Circuit, I hope y'all enjoyed the hook to Chitlin Circuit, because that's the first hook I've ever written in my entire life.
Wow.
So I hope y'all enjoyed that, right? Just putting that out there. Thank you.
Dang. Yeah, that's dope. I mean, for considering the first hook, that is very dope.
Thank you, man.
I mean,
That thing's hard. I was like, man, this shit, it's and you know this as an MC, you probably understand this too. It's as an MC, when you rapping, like writing a verse, it's more of like a lecture.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not something that they're expected to rap along with. It's like, no, you listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when it's a hook, it's like you got to think. You're not just thinking in terms of you talking to them. It's something that they have to be able to sing along with. And I was like, damn, it's like hard, man. It's like, but after a while, I think I got the hang of it after a while. I wrote a couple hooks for that twice. I was like, all right, cool,
Yeah. I'm very well. I'm not talking about me. This is your interview. We'll talk later about me. You know what I'm saying? Let's stay on task here. So other quotables that I have here. This was a very close second favorite track. Very close. Like it's right there. Like on some Siamese twin shit. Like but this bar right here, and I actually showed it to my fiance, and she was like, yeah, that's dope. But that colorless liquid, highly flammable. Though we set each other ablaze, I try not to smother you. Even in the wildest fires, need oxygen to maintain their flame.
Yeah, that was a little something. That happened because so I was laid up with my boo thing, and Tone, my cousin, made a couple beats on there.
Yeah, Tone
my main producer. Yeah, Tone was here because we recorded everything in the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I was laid up, and he still had the speakers on. He was just bullshitting, just like
right.
And I had to take her back to Philly, and I was like, man, that thing sounding good. I didn't know if it was because I was, on that shit, and everything, everything is better than.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but right when I was about to walk out, I was like, what's that right there? He was like, I don't know, I'm just bullshitting. I was like, put that on something, and when I get back, I'm writing something. Right. And so really that was just, ethereal, obviously, what her Twitter name is, right? So ethereal was just me, obviously it was a play on, obviously her name and what I was feeling at the moment, because, and I found out through later conversation with her, that she was feeling the same way, is that a lot of times in them early stages, you kind of question like, yo, am I moving too fast? Like, am I being irrational? Like, are these feelings getting to the point? Should I be? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm an emotional person. When I'm with, a woman, it's like, all right, you got me. If you got me, you got me. I'm not. There's no guile in me in that sense, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like I want to make sure I'm keeping a cool head about this, right? Even though this is kind of like on fire right now.
Right.
Make sure I'm keeping a cool head, because you're still needs your space, and it's just trying
Yeah.
to maintain that balance. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's where Material came from.
Yeah, but that was a real spoken word Love Jones kind of vibe, and I really dug that. And I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I saw the title, I knew what time it was initially,
Yeah,
but yeah, like that was really dope.
yeah. Thank you, man.
I definitely think you should do more things like that.
Well, see, that's the thing. So when I was obviously, I grew up. My dad was a preacher, so he ain't go for no fucking, rap music. He didn't go for
Right,
that. But he had us listening to all his old joints from the '70s and shit.
right,
It's just no less toxic, just less curse words, right?
right,
But anyway, because of that, I had to get that writing Jones off and that rhyming Jones off. So I said, "Oh, I'm a poet, right?" So I
right,
write these big ass poems. And so because of that, I couldn't be a rapper, but I could be a poet. I can get away with that because that's not quite the same thing. So because of that, that's where my roots are, man. That was how I got those Jones off. There's a lot of words in my head and a lot of feelings in my heart that I can only let off, through kind of getting the pen to move a little bit.
right, right. Indeed, indeed. Now these aren't necessarily quotables, but they're just titles that I've picked up on. So one we got here is Killmonger Apologist.
Listen, despite the depiction of Killmonger,
Mm-hmm.
the sentiment and the mission,
Right,
um, I'm kind of on that side. Let's hear him out for a second, right?
right, right,
Especially since his approach made a lot more logical sense from
right.
a survivalist standpoint of his race than did T'Challa.
Mm-hmm.
Which was this sort of "we are the world." And I mean, at the end of the film, for example, I never read the comic, but at the end of the film, for example, he winds up giving uranium or vibranium to the same exact colonizers or people that they call colonizers, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
he just opened up a STEM center in Oakland and called it a day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, listen, why don't we let's go there when we're talking about Killmonger. Let's talk about that. You know what I mean? So that's what I was talking about.
Okay, and then the next one we got here, Righteous Patriarch.
I think that was from Powernomics, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think as a righteous patriarch, make a mark in these sacred arts and illuminate the dark. Um, Listen, I don't, my dad is the patriarch of my family. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And it's like, I don't apologize for being a straight masculine male. What I do with that, with the strength, what I do with the machismo, is what is going to affect my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, and all those things. And so, because of that, being the patriarch or the heir and the rising leader of my family and my family's legacy, I have to make sure that I'm walking in a posture of righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
Number one from a moralistic standpoint, but also, I mean, in all aspects, right? And one of the things that I think is the biggest thing as far as being a patriarch, the male leader of a family, the male head of a family, is making sure not only am I, doing the basics, which is provision and protection, that's like table stakes for manhood in general, right? But
Mm-hmm.
also sure that I'm a spiritual and emotional oasis for
Mm-hmm.
my wife and my children. You know what I mean?
Right.
For both of them, right? Because one thing I can't stand is hearing people say, listen, my dad beat the shit out of my mom, cheated on her. He never talked to us, but hey, he paid them bills and we never went hungry. It's like, that ain't enough. That's
That
like
sounds
the
like
basics.
slavery to me.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, that's the basics. Like, you got to
Mm-hmm.
cover much more ground than that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's what righteousness as a patriarch is. And I think about that shit every single day. I ain't got no damn kids, but I think about being a father every day and what kind of spiritual and emotional and psychological effect I'm going to have on all of them.
Yeah, because that definitely stood out to me. Based upon the bad name that the term patriarchy has gotten in the past however many years it's been, and it's just it's good to hear it from the other side.
Fuck that. We patriarchs. Fuck that. Ain't nobody think about the damn Twitter head.
All right, now this one right here is my favorite track. Uh, you notice, you ever notice pain is a passage of senses?
Mm-hmm.
Break it down.
Um, me see. You ever notice when pain? Okay. You ever notice when pain surpasses your senses, the scars of which harden leave a stain and crash your intentions? Hold up. Got cash, got women, and about your business. But if it's at the cost your heart only love from a distance, so what? By all means, yeah, we in it for tall green. As long as we can see that the heart is the piece that's missing. So keep grinding and striving and keep listening. Keep your focus and your people close when they reach their ascension. I sing a song about this beautiful pain. I keep my head up, I don't choose to complain. Can't explain how I feel that was real, though we don't view it the same. And though it hurts and in a beautiful thing, I named the song Beautiful Pain because this is really supposed to be a less tearful version of Perfect Peace, which was on Power
Yes.
Shallow, which was a
Mm-hmm.
song I wrote for my brother, right? So it's really, that really encapsulates, if you remember what I said at the beginning of this conversation, encapsulate what is life without Kevin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because Kevin was a form of protection. That's what I've always recognized him as. And so it's kind of saying that same thing. And when you think about, I think about Kevin, he struggled with his health almost his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And he faced it with such an immense courage, and a certain, I would say, even lionheartedness about himself. Um, I mean, listen, somebody today, if he was alive, somebody might call it people always respect you more after you pass away. But if he was alive, they probably would have said he had a little man complex. But
Mm-hmm.
now, in retrospect, now that he's gone after 33 years, it's like it probably was something deeper than that because he struggled with so much physically, but his spirit was so strong. And he
Mm-hmm.
had the most courage out of all of us. I don't mind saying that he was more man than if I could be half the man he was. I don't mind saying that, right?
Right.
And so because of that, I wrote that song as a less tearful version of Power Shalem. But what I was saying, you ever notice when pain surpasses your senses, it's that pain that you can't even, refer to any other pain that you've ever felt through any type of sense that you've ever felt, right? It's almost like, when Kevin passed, it was almost like my soul got mortally wounded. It was like a piece of my soul left.
Right.
And so because of that, the scars of which harden leave a stain and crash your intentions. You got cash, got women, you bought your business, but if it's at the cost your heart only love from a distance, so what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I remember even it became a time where when your loved ones die, a lot of times you can go through these stages of guilt. And I had a number of different stages of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking that I was directly responsible for his death, given the events of the day leading up to it. Right. But it's like I was so caught up in my own ambition a lot of times. And he was behind me, he would support me, right? But I was so caught up in my own ambition, it made me, you start to think like, I wish I could have just stayed home from the office or got home from the office 3 hours early that day just to sit there and talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So because of that, that's where that came from. Got cash, got women about your business. But if it's at the cost, your heart only love from a distance, so what? By all means, we in it for tall green, right? That's cool. There's no problem with that. Kev was about making his bread too. And
Right.
he couldn't really work as much, right? As long as we can see that the heart is the piece that's missing. So keep grinding and striving and keep listening. Keep your focus, but keep your people close before they reach their ascension, right? And that's where that came from. So I called that Beautiful Pain because although I don't think there's a single hour throughout the day. I was just, matter of fact, the anniversary to his death just came by, right? And I wasn't ready for this, but my mom wanted for us to all meet up and kind of talk about our best experiences we had. I was not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
I handled this situation, I don't want to say worse, but for lack of a better term, worse than the rest of my family, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gets still, I'm surprised I'm holding up right now, right? That's just how I am as a person, right?
Right.
But it's like, the lessons that I've learned, right, and the things that taught me, right, not only in his death, but also his life, the lessons that I've learned is a beautiful thing, and I'm at the point where he's a constant reminder. They even said, right, it was a couple of church members, and they were talking about they had like a dream about Kevin, and they asked me, I wasn't saying anything, I didn't want to talk to them about it.
Right.
It's like, have you dreamed about it? I dream about Kevin probably 3 times a week. I
Mm-hmm.
said, what does he say? What does he say? They're really into the right-wing evangelical, whatever, Pentecostal kind of thing. So they trying to find something to interpret out of it. I don't really see it that way. I'm a little bit more, whatever. And I said, he doesn't really say anything. He kind of just puts his hand on my shoulder and just stands there. And I kind of see him in my peripheral. Matter of fact, even in those songs, it was based on a dream that I had. And though over a year, I still talk as though he was here. I still hold and embrace him, though no reflection when we're both in the mirror. Still wonder if he even think about me, or is the bliss surrounding him so intensely, more than convinced I'm just a distant memory. So like I actually had a dream one time that I was sitting down at this event, and I see Kevin kind of peek behind the door, and then close the door. So immediately I jet up, run,
Mm-hmm.
and I see him down a hallway. Nobody's in there. I open another door. He's not there. I run down another hallway. He's kind of looking past. Close the door, almost like a hide and seek thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
tag, you can't find me thing. I open the door. Finally, he's standing there. He's kind of looking at me like, all right, you got me. So I break down and I cry, right? I'm giving him a hug. In front of me is a mirror. I can't see myself. I can't see anybody. It's like a vampire, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
So
right.
it's like I still hold and embrace him, though no reflection when we both in the mirror. So it's like those things and it's him constantly, I don't even want to call it a haunting, but it's a blessing to still have him with me in my subconscious when I go to sleep at night. It helps you wake up. So it's like, although it still hurts, ain't it a beautiful thing?
Yeah,
You know what I'm
and
saying? You know
yeah,
how that shit is, man.
yeah, and that's actually I actually had this quote that came to me. I was talking to some people about like losing loved ones and stuff like that,
Right.
and I think I'll share with you. Hopefully it'll help. I'm not sure what your take is on like afterlife or anything like that, or returning to the essence. But a lot of times when people pass away and the survivors always think about I wish I was there. I wish I could have been there more, whatever, whatever.
Right.
We beat ourselves up, and it's a big thing to us. But
Mm-hmm.
those when the ones that have ascended, it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had a situation with me personally, like I was doing some degenerate shit,
Right,
and
right,
and instead of being there at this particular time, where like everybody else took pictures, like all of her grandsons were there, and I was the only one missing because I was out being the doc.
right. Mm-hmm.
And she came to me in a dream, after she had passed, and we had made amends,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me realize, like, yo, like, despite that goofy moment, I'm thinking about the history of everything we've been through, all the times you have been there, all the times the conversations that we had, all the times that we spent that weren't, on camera and stuff like that. And that's what matters more to them than that
Mm-hmm.
one little goofy moment or that one time that you stepped out, because they realize that you have a life to live, even though they don't have a life to live anymore.
Yeah,
And so basically, it's kind of like a switch between, like, it's a big thing to us, but a small thing to them.
that's a fact. And it's like you also have to keep in mind, I don't know if you ever seen this movie Interstellar. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan. It's a Matthew McConaughey, like time travel and going through space kind of thing. But anyway, pretty much Matthew McConaughey, the main character, he goes inside of a black hole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what he finds inside of the black hole is that inside of a black hole, time is sort of like a physical dimension where he can
Right.
literally see it. He can physically cause vibrations back in time, right? So that's what he said. So the point is, time moves in a different way where our ancestors go, where our loved ones go. And so
Right.
because of that, they can see the beginning, the end, all that, and we
Right.
can only see what's in front of us
Right.
and reminisce on what's in back of us.
Right.
Or better yet, we can only theorize and project on what's going to happen in front of us and remorse and have remorse over what happened in back of us, but they can see the
Right.
whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, because of that, it's like for the longest time, the biggest issue with me, as you'll probably see reflected in my writing, and I still struggle with that, I don't mind saying it, is that it's like it's a guilt thing. It's like I wish I just would have spent one more fucking second with him. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Just fucking one more. You know what I mean? I wish I would have sat down there with him that night because he died right in our house, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have sat there one more second. I wish I would have but it's like at the same time, he sees things differently. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because time doesn't work the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
1,000 years to us is like a minute to him. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? For all I know, he could just be waking up and like looking around. That's
Right.
how the shit goes. And so we don't really, it's me kind of daydreaming on what that could mean, and how that affects me as a person and me as an MC, me as a man today. He's made me a better person. you know, and that's really where beautiful pain came from.
I would say my best piece of unsolicited advice is just to don't stop writing. I feel like that's helping you
Hmm.
process everything
Yeah.
and just keep at it. Very, very dope project. Do I have any other things here? Oh,
Oh, you got one
yes.
more? Give me that title
Yeah.
track. Come on now.
Actually, I wasn't even gonna go there. I was actually gonna talk about the inspiration behind Supreme Outliers 1 and 2 because I actually had to revisit Supreme Outliers 1,
Yeah.
kind of like, like what's the backstory behind that and like how did that all come about?
I just wanted to have something that, you know, when people get my projects, they always know something that they can expect, right?
Hmm.
Number one, I don't ever want to compromise, you know, the type of technical dedication that I try to bring to it, right?
Hmm.
I'm not saying I'm the greatest lyricist there ever was, but I always want people to know, like, yo, Braxton gonna come with that shit every fucking time. Like the same way you look at Black Thought.
Hmm.
He's gonna give that type. I always want to have that, right? And so that has to be one of those things where they're not expecting any hooks, they're expecting bars, you know. Supreme Outliers Part 1 had 64 bars for me, 32 bars from Tone. This one had 32 bars for me, I think 20 from Bibby or 16 from Bibby, and yeah, 16 from Bibby, my little brother, and 16 from Tone. You know, it always has to be that sort of thing. So it's like, yo, we're the outliers. We're on the outskirts of this shit. Like we're
Hmm.
different from everybody, but we supreme with this shit. And
Hmm.
so what I wanted to do was, as I progress in my career as an MC, hopefully, eventually, the bigger names, as far as the more recognized goats, you know, would want to get on it. Be like, all right,
Hmm.
yo, I'm gonna be on that shit with Braxton, so I got to come correct. You know what I'm saying? Sort of like that shit. And I mean, if anything, you could almost say if I was making another album, I might even say this joint with me and B Dot will probably be like a Supreme Outliers Part 3, but
Hmm.
that's gonna be something completely separate. So, you know, that's where the idea of it came from. And I said, there has to be a certain amount of continuity, you know,
Right.
across each album, right? Obviously, you're gonna get the little jazz beats and the boom bap and all that. All right, that's like the Braxton brand. But as far as songs are concerned, I wanted to always be a specific title, like Carter 1, Carter 2, like Maybach Music. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Sort of
that's
like
exactly what
that.
I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah, like maybe, and it always has to be. Actually, that's probably the best example. Maybach Music 1, 2, 3, and there always has to be that sort of thing, and that's what I want.
Okay. So, and then finally, the title track.
Mhm. Um, that was not. Here's the thing. Here's how things work with me and Tone, right? I go into, I text Tone, I tell him what kind of beat I want. And he says, okay, come through. We're gonna make it from scratch. We come through. In the beginning, I'm like, okay, that's something I can fuck with. Okay, all right, bet. I walk out for 30 seconds, I come back in, the beat is completely different. I'm like, what the fuck happened, right? That's what happened with this joint. If you heard, uh, what's my sister's name? Damn. What's the female MC? Her name isn't coming to me right now, so I'm drinking. Damn, what's her name, bro? She nice from North Carolina. She had an album last year. It was called Eve.
Oh, it's all
And
about
she made,
Rhapsody.
thank you. All right, Rhapsody. Yeah, there you go, Rhapsody. She had a track on there called Aaliyah.
Hmm.
And Aaliyah, it had this dope ass like voice box aspect to it, sort of like a Zapp and Roger thing. And the beat was like on some Fuji shit.
Hmm.
And first of all, that, to me, in my opinion, that was the best album. I'm putting that above, you know, two of my favorite albums, which is my, you know, Power Shalem, you know, B Dot's album, which is Coming Forth by Day, right? That was my favorite. But to me, her album took the cake. That was the best album, and like, I felt like, you know, people get mad. It's like, well, listen, if she's a female, she the one rapping right, so there you go.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know what I'm saying? She the only one rapping right. That's your fault. You know what I'm saying? So there was a track in there called Aaliyah, and I was like, that joint it's groovy, man. So I was like, yo, I need something like that. The drums was sounds like, okay, cool. And then he had the little, and he kind of changed the vocals up on it by the time I come back. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I was like, all right, this is gonna go in a different direction. I said, you know what, this is gonna be the title track. So after that, I said, you know, I kind of listened to the beat a little bit more when he finally sent it to me, because I was a little upset. Cause I'm like, nigga, this is not what I asked you for. But I was like,
Right.
oh, this might actually work out for the best. So I just wrote the 2 tracks. And I don't know where the idea came from. I think I was reading an article from National Geographic, and they talked about mitochondrial Eve or something like that. And I was just like, Braxton, the seed of the mitochondrial Eve. Solar strode the Pangea were bathed in the ancient seas. Hypochondrial mind made them hyperconscious and freed. It's like, okay, now I got it, right? So that's where the idea came from. And it was initially going to have no hooks. But, you know, I heard Tone, he kept playing it while I was in my room chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to sing, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And I was like, all right, his mind is going somewhere. So I go out to pick Kia up. By the time I came back, he was like, yo, listen to this shit. He had already made the fucking, he'd already laced the hooks and all that. So I was like, that's perfect. So we wound up doing that. And I wanted to make sure that that track, from a conceptual standpoint, was really, you know, capturing the very essence of this album, which is just like, listen, this isn't just about bars, right?
Right.
It has to be something that is, you know, my music, obviously, it is, you know, targeted toward a male audience, right? And the whole idea is to get the Black man mobilized and activated and moving forward, right? Beyonce had Lemonade, cool, cool, cool. You know, Jay-Z, I guess that was what he was doing with 444, you know, whatever, right? But it's like, all right, I want to get you up and I want to get you active, right? I want to get you, you know, with a chip on your shoulder. And that's what Black August is supposed to do. Stand at attention, his hands and open and listen, draft sentences to militarize and exact benches. You know, it has to be that kind of thing where it gives that sort of energy to any man, woman system against the Black kindred. Send message to Black man, sending peace to my Black women, police and police our streets, be the mass agenda, rehab the addicted, we training tactics, stacking up and expel the immoral back to the caverns from which he entered. I'll be out of Lagos Village, chilling with some Haitian women, conversating, talking nation building over vegan dinners. Niggas' minds weak to the sheep mind. If we running pasture, this flag waving, there shall be none after. And as the evil scientists, psychopharmaceutical warfare is waged on us and sinister schemes become more apparent, it has to be that kind of thing where it's kind of getting specifically the Black man. We got to get him back in the game.
Right.
You know, Black women, they doing their best. Black women are doing their best. It's time to get Black men back in the game.
Right.
And that's what they fear. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I want them to be afraid, right? And even so, not just in terms of us being like, you know, infantry or militarized, right? But also even working behind the scenes, you know, all facts. We congregate in all Black in secret meetings and tribunals and Mardi Gras mass. It's kind of like I'm using a lot of poetic license. It's very theatric, obviously. I'm being, you know, dramatic. But the point is to kind of give you that feeling that we have to not only be on the front lines, but also in the back pulling the strings of the people on the front lines.
I mean, that's what they do. So you might as well.
I'm saying, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That you see, that's how the game is played. Those are the, you know, those are the tactics of war. So it's like, by all means, you know, that's what I wanted to do, man. So Black August was, you know, Black August, that title track that was really supposed to, you know, capture the very essence of that, you know.
Very, very dope project. What would you say is next for you?
Good question. Next is, first of all, this album, this project was not, it's supposed to be 7 songs long. I'm gonna let you, when we kind of sit down and, you know, make our track together, because for y'all that don't know, we actually making the track together. That joint could be crazy. We don't even know the title of it yet, but that joint gonna be crazy. But when we sit down, I'm gonna let you hear this joint called Hotep Ebony. 9 minutes long. It's long as shit. But that would have made like this joint like I would have like felt like we deserved a Grammy for that shit. In my opinion, that's like the epitome of like a hip hop masterpiece.
Right.
It's like, you know, Renee mixed with I don't even know what, you know what I'm saying? So it's telling a story. 3 or 4 verses and, you know, a 2-minute spoken word part performed by my baby Kia. It's gonna be dope. But that's the next thing. We're gonna be releasing that mainstream, and there's also gonna be a video for that. Also, me and B. God, y'all know him, one of the greatest battle rappers to ever touch an ink pen. Me and him coming out with a track. We already had a track. He sent me over his verse like a month and a half ago. It's called Coast Gods. You know, that joint is crazy, man. His you know, produced by Tone the Artist. You know, his verse was crazy. My verse was crazy. We went hard on that one. Also, me and Bibby, we're gonna be coming out with our song soon. I don't know what the song's called, but I already wrote my verse. and I gotta text him actually. It's my little brother. We're just gonna, figure that out. But then after that, soon I'm gonna be getting off of Twitter because I'm sick of that app, and I'm gonna be dedicating all of my energy towards building a bigger YouTube brand.
Right.
So one of the first things I'm gonna do as far as actual projects are concerned, I'm gonna do 5 or 6 songs, same as like what I usually do, but it's gonna be all live instrumentation, almost like it's gonna be called The Tonight Show with Braxton, right?
Okay.
So it's gonna be that sort of thing, old school microphone type things, got a saxophonist and a trumpetist and a
Right.
trumpeter and drum player, all that in the back. It's gonna be real classy, I'm looking forward to that, I gotta hear some beats, man. I don't know what it is. You know how this shit go, bro. It's like don't nobody want to do no classic, hip hop sounds anymore. Everybody just want what do they call it? The kick, whatever. And it's like
The 808s and all that. Yeah.
808s and all that. It's like, oh god, man. It's like I don't want to rap to that shit. Like, so it depends on what I find, but it's gonna be some dope shit, man. Already got the lines of the concept written down, so it's gonna be dope, bro.
So if people were,
Hopefully with a feature by my brother Dwayne Johnson. Hopefully.
oh yeah, that could be arranged. So if people wanted to find you, where could they find you at?
I just changed my Instagram, man. I don't even fucking know. Hold on. Yeah, I just changed it like yesterday. It is the.braxton.show. So the.braxton.show. The Braxton Show. The.braxton.show. That's me on Instagram. I don't suggest follow me on Twitter because it's gonna be down in a couple days. But also, if you look me up on YouTube, you'll see the Braxton Show. Look me up, then you'll see me there. Got all my freestyles and the last album and all that.
All right. Appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll definitely talk about that track.
Yes, sir. Black man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
No doubt.